The interrogation room is dimly lit, with a single bright light shining down on the metal table in the center. The walls are lined with screens displaying various forms of data and surveillance footage. Lila stands at the head of the table, her arms crossed as she watches Military Chancellor Kangun Ron being led into the room by a pair of OCA enforcers. Ron is dressed in his uniform, his face expressionless as he takes a seat at the table. Lila begins the interrogation, her tone cold and direct. "Chancellor Ron, I have been assigned to conduct an investigation into the allegations against you," she says, her eyes narrowing as she watches his reaction. "I need to know exactly what information you have shared with the Chasers and if there is any truth to the rumors of your dealings with the Legion." Ron remains impassive, his gaze steady as he meets her eyes. "I have nothing to hide," he says calmly. "I have always acted in the best interest of the Perseum, and I will continue to do so. I am willing to answer any questions you may have." He looks up at Lila, his eyes meeting hers. "I assure you, Lila," he says, his voice steady, "I have not betrayed the Perseum. I have always acted in the best interests of our faction, and I will continue to do so." Lila raises an eyebrow. "Really?" she says, her tone skeptical. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been playing a dangerous game. The Chasers are a known threat to the Perseum and other factions, and the Legion is our greatest enemy." Ron takes a deep breath, his gaze not wavering from Lila's. "I understand your concerns," he says, "but I can assure you I have not betrayed the Perseum. I have been working to gather intelligence on both the Chasers and the Legion in an effort to protect our faction." Lila leans forward, her eyes intense. "I need more than just assurances, Chancellor," she says. "I need concrete evidence of your loyalty. So I'm going to ask you again. What information have you shared with the Chasers, and what is your connection to the Legion?" Ron looks at Lila for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, with a sigh, he says, "I can't give you any concrete evidence, Lila. All I can do is promise you that my loyalty has always been, and will always be, to the Perseum." Lila continues, her voice growing louder. "We have reason to believe that you have been sharing the new modular single navigator ships with the Chasers, that you have been passing on sensitive information and technologies to our enemies." Lila pauses, letting her words sink in before continuing. "This is treason, Chancellor Ron. It goes against everything the Perseum stands for and threatens the stability of our great faction. So I ask you again, what information have you shared, and what is your association with the Legion?" Ron's expression darkens as he leans forward, his hands balled into fists on the table as Lila brings up the intercepted message. He leans forward, his voice low and menacing as he speaks. "You have no proof of that," he growls, his eyes blazing with anger. "These are baseless allegations made by your superiors to discredit me. I've served the Perseum with honor and distinction for many cycles. I'll not be implicated in such a manner without evidence." Lila remains calm, her eyes never leaving Ron's. "The evidence is clear, Chancellor," she replies coolly. "The message was intercepted from one of the Chasers' ships. It details a meeting between you and a representative of theirs discussing the sale of the new modular single navigator ship." Ron's eyes widen as Lila reveals the evidence, and he leans back in his chair, his eyes darting around the room as he weighs his options. The OCA guard shifts, their hands hovering near their weapons as they watch the tense exchange. Lila's grabs Ron's collar as she plays the intercepted message. The sound of Ron's voice, discussing the sale of the modular single navigator ships with a member of the Chasers, fills the room. "Ron, listen, I know you're worried about the other factions getting their hands on our new ships, but trust me, I've got it under control." Chaser: "But what about the Legion? They're already starting to take notice." Ron: "Don't worry about the Legion. I've made deals with them. They're not going to cause any trouble." Chaser: "Are you sure about that? They're not known for keeping their word." Ron: "Trust me, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a long time. Just keep quiet about it, and everything will be fine." Chaser: "All right, Ron, I trust you." Ron: "Good. Now let's get back to business. I've got a shipment of the new modular single navigator ships ready to go. Get your crew together, and we'll get them out on the market as soon as possible. Ron starts to laugh, his eyes gleaming with a sinister light. You think you have the upper hand, but you don't, he says, his voice rising. The Chasers are far more organized and influential than you can imagine. I have friends in high places who will make sure I walk away from this unscathed. As Ron continues to laugh, the OCA guards stand ready, their weapons at the ready. But Lila is unfazed, her eyes locked onto Ron's as she demands the truth. Who are your friends in high places? She asks, her tone cold and unwavering. Ron's laughter fades, replaced by a sly smile. You'll find out soon enough, he says, his tone dripping with menace. But for now, let's just say that I have insurance, and I'm not afraid to use it. Lila's eyes narrow in anger. You're a traitor, Ron, and you're going to pay for what you've done. Lila orders the OCA guards to escort Ron out of the room. He continues to smirk, his eyes blazing with a hint of madness. You may have the upper hand now, Lila, he sneers, but you have no idea what you're up against. I have friends in high places, and they won't let me fall. Lila watches him go, her heart pounding in her chest. She knows that Ron is a dangerous man, and she needs to be careful if she's going to bring him to justice. She turns to the guards, her voice steady and calm. Make sure he's secure, she orders, and keep a close eye on him. I don't want him to escape. The guards nod, and Lila watches as they disappear out the door. She takes a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. She knows that she's up against a powerful and cunning enemy, but she's determined to bring Ron to justice and protect the Perseum from his treachery. Lila enters into the office of the corporate chancellor, her face twisted with anger and frustration. That bastard Ron is playing us for fools, she growls, her fists clenched tight. He's in cahoots with the Chasers, and I'm damn sure he's got something to do with the Legion invasion as well. The chancellor raises an eyebrow, her expression neutral. What makes you so certain? She asks, her tone calm and measured. I just finished interrogating him, Lila snaps, pacing back and forth across the room. He's got this smug grin on his face the entire time, like he knows something we don't. And when I played him the intercepted message, he just laughed. He thinks he's untouchable. The chancellor nods thoughtfully. And what did he say about his dealings with the Chasers? He basically admitted to it, Lila seethes. He said they're too organized for us to stop them, and he mentioned having friends in high places, like he's got some sort of protection. The chancellor's expression turns grim. Then it's settled. We'll charge him with treason in the Hall of Councils and let the evidence speak for itself. Lila nods firmly, still fuming with anger. It's about time that bastard gets what's coming to him. And if he thinks he's got friends in high places, let's see how far that gets him in front of the entire council. The room of councils was filled with tension as Ron was summoned to stand before the members. The air was thick with the weight of the accusations against him and the gravity of the decision that would be made. The corporate chancellor stood at the head of the room, his gaze fixed on Ron as he approached the stand. Lila stood to the side, her eyes narrowed as she watched the proceedings. The council members sat at their desks, their expressions grave as they listened to the charges being read against Ron. Council members, it is my duty to present to you the evidence gathered against Chancellor Ron during my investigation, Lila begins, her voice strong and steady. The evidence suggests that Ron has been in collusion with the Chasers, one of our greatest enemies, in a scheme to sell them highly advanced technologies, including the modular single navigator ships. This not only undermines the security of our faction, but also threatens to destabilize the entire system. Lila pulls out several recordings and data files from her briefcase and lays them out on the table in front of the council. These recordings and files show clear and undeniable proof of Ron's dealings with the Chasers, including intercepted messages and payments. He has been a traitor to the OCA and to all of us in this room. The council members listen intently, some of them exchanging worried looks as Lila continues to present her evidence. The room falls into a tense silence as the weight of the situation sets in. This is a serious matter, and it is imperative that we take action to ensure that justice is served, Lila concludes, her eyes locking onto the corporate chancellors. I recommend that Ron be charged with treason and brought to trial. Chancellor Kangun Ron, you stand accused of treachery and betrayal against the Perseum, the corporate chancellor stated, her voice carrying throughout the room. The evidence against you is compelling, and the consequences of your actions could be catastrophic for the stability of our great faction.